Beginning of a brand new week. What are we going to talk about today? What do we always talk about? Okay. I'd like to turn it up a notch on different things, but it seems like about the time you think things should cool a little bit, things just go. I guess my biggest surprise in the last few weeks was, uh, part of it is Willis playing the game out there at the little convenience store. That actually surprised me. But I guess it shouldn't. You know, when people uh, follow somebody else's footsteps, they never are as good as the original. They just aren't. And sometimes they look foolish. Sometimes they show ignorance. And sometimes it just shows what a wannabe looks like. That's all. So breaking it down a little bit, I look out there and, it hadn't been that long ago, I said, I'd rather build somebody up than to tear somebody else down. And I still feel that way. And it's hard to try to do one without getting involved with the other. It is. If you're trying to help somebody out that's being picked on, it's hard not to attack the bully. And when I look out there at the neighbor dispute in Otter Creek, I think, wow, this is kind of like the whole world. The Middle East has been fighting each other for thousands of years, and nobody's been able to stop that, have they? And, in our own country here in the United States, before it was settled in by the Spanish and French and English, it was a continual battle of the Indians that lived here, in the United States, in this portion up here. They fought for territory or different beliefs. And the country was big enough that there wasn't necessarily a continuous battle, but there was always an enemy out there. It's, for some reason, mankind can't get along, and sometimes I'm wondering if the Tower of Babel may be partially to blame. The good Lord had that destroyed, and after that, everybody spoke a different language, Babylon. And I don't know if we'll ever be able to all get together. Certainly it's going to be hard to come up with a common language. But there's nothing wrong with a common cause, and that is the good of everyone. Let everybody be satisfied. And how can we do that when the blood of Cain and Abel runs through almost everybody in the whole wide world? You have Satan on one side and the Lord on the other side. And, let's face it, it seems like 50-50 is the going rate for agree or disagree. And maybe it's a piper's dream thinking that we're all going to get along. We may have that wish, but each of us somehow, some way ends up choosing one side or another, or I guess it's a perpetual line in the sand, drawing a line there. If you draw it, then it's a challenge. Not any different than that boxing ring that Willis put over there on that dry piece of swampland. But that it is silly. When I see him come out of that store and is, yelling that John, John's back is turned to him. John's getting ready to get struck, and here comes Willis. It's that's a Saturday night skit. It really is, and so silly. And then he's made a couple of videos out of it already. It, did, it didn't take 5 minutes for that whole thing, and we've got 2 videos out of it, not counting the little bit of time I talk on here, or Lisa on last night's for the little bit of time on there. I Yeah, and I am laughing because it is a comedy. It's a blatant excuse or a put on to try to put something out there to make money. That's all it was for. Willis is no genius, but his boss, he's perfected how to make a mountain out of a molehill, and I call him loosely a boss. Actually, he is a leader of people maybe not able to lead themselves. And it's called, most people call it the Jim Jones effect, for lack of any other terms that come closer. And yeah, I'm laughing about that too, because you would think when people see actions like that, they can see through it. But I keep forgetting, although you can see, you may be blind. That's a true statement. How many times have we looked past something without seeing what was here? Can't see the trees for the forest, right? It's kind of like, it hadn't been too long ago, I had to go in and have some work done on my eyes. My cataracts were starting to mess up my eyes. I couldn't drive at night anymore, and I was having trouble reading, and what happens when you start getting a cloudy mess out there. And years ago when I first had my eyes worked on and they got rid of the cataracts and put some lens in, and all of a sudden I could see the leaves, the individual leaves on a tree. And then that brought up the fact that I couldn't see the trees for the forest, and all of a sudden here I can see something better. The clarity in my eyesight. I hadn't noticed how bad it was until all of a sudden I could see well, because my sight was going bad over time. And our judgments are a lot like that. We don't see how bad things are getting until something wakes us up. Something good maybe. But it can be something bad that wakes us up as well. And here with this last time where they went in there, in a few minutes they hit that laser in both of my eyes, and all of a sudden it was like, holy mackerel, it's pretty bright in this world again. And I got home and I looked out, and I love my backyard because of all the trees back here. It's just a wonderment for me. And I guess that's because in my youth I loved forests. I can't explain it, but the outside has always been my thing. But anyway, I could see the individual leaves again. And I thought, the Lord has blessed me twice now, with restoring my eyesight. And yes, I know it was a doctor that got in there and used a laser, but none of that could be done without the blessing of our Lord. I realize that. 50 years ago, things like that, it didn't happen. It just, my wife's mother, she had cataracts real bad, and they took them off. She had to wear Coke bottle type glasses, and even at that, the eyesight wasn't that great. And back then they'd cut the cataract out, and it just without the glasses you'd blind as a bat. So today technology has changed a lot of that. And actually, when I take my glasses off with the way my vision is right now, I can see better without them on distance. I have to have them for intermediate vision because I've got lenses in here. But everybody goes through life, and they slowly get to a point where they overlook things. And what you realize is, if you are one of those followers of somebody, the day comes where you get blinded. Unless something changes that drastically, quickly, you can't see. You can't really see. You've been blinded by the fog. Now, What's going to happen? Is somebody going to get hurt real bad before we can see? Or is it going to be the second coming of the Lord, maybe, that opens up our eyes to show us what our Christ would have done, and if he was here today looking over some of the tragic things that happened in that little town of Otter Creek and the way we act or react to it. I feel bad for the players that are most involved, not people like you and I that are on this boob tube, but the people that it's happening to out there, John and Michelle and Harley. And some of those around Jeremy, because quite frankly, whatever side you're on, you feel it physically, mentally. You see it. And your mind is already in this grip of right and wrong and should and shouldn't. And, 50-50, this is right, that's wrong. And nobody wants to come to a table and just negotiate the real things. It's, I'm right and you're wrong no matter what. The ones out there says, don't poke the bear. What I seen over there with Willis and John was, Willis was poking the bear. So silly. But what the heck? There's no, how do you judge something like that? It just depends on who you're following, right? But I want you to break this down. A guy walks in a store. Now, he was delivering, apparently, peppers to the cook. Very innocent, by the way. He didn't say anything to Willis on the way in because, the camera was running. You'd have heard it. But magically, the camera is off. And then all of a sudden, it's set up, and you can see Willis flailing his arms and yelling at John. And John, as his back turned to Willis, he's getting into his truck to go home. He delivered the peppers, and now he's going home. And, ask a question. Why was the camera off for that short period of time? Oh, he said he's got more views on there. Well, that's funny. The store doesn't have any in there. That isn't exactly what the clerk said in the store. And so now we wonder, but now who's telling the truth? You got John, you've got the clerk, the cook, and you got Willis. Nobody agrees with Willis. Wonder what's going on there. Oh, well. That's enough of that. So now, for those of you that tuned in, let's get to something a little more down to earth, okay? Now, all of you know that every once in a while I like to sing a song here and there. And for an old fellow, I don't do too bad, but very far from professional. But the other day, and by the way, one of my favorite female singers is Marilyn McCoo. And there's a reason for it. My wife being born in February, she's an Aquarius. Well, back then my favorite song was Aquarius. And this Marilyn McCoo, she's really what I consider the lead singer, although I'm going to tell you that everybody in there sang very well. And the combination of it is one of the most beautiful songs you could ever get. And when you look at it and you hear it, it makes you feel good. It does. But anyway, one of her songs remind me a little bit of how Lisa talks. And, when you're going for a voice coach, you learn how to sing. You say, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. All right. If you can sing that far, you can sing a song. It does take practice, but all you got to do is remember the scales. And do you keep on going up till you screech out? You can. But if you ever notice a speaker, their voice goes up and down within the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. When you're talking, you use those scales, but you don't always know it. Now, you do have speakers that come out there and they go, well, I'm going to talk about this subject, and this is the way that it's all about. Or there's when it comes out, I want to talk about this subject, and this is how it's about. Okay? There's a difference. The second one will get your attention. The first one will put you to sleep. Now, Lisa won't put you to sleep in the first half hour because you're wide awake listening to everything. As time goes on, 5 or 6 hours of any lecture, you're going to go to sleep. You will. That's just the way it is, because it might be past your bedtime or you're not used to sitting and listening that long, whatever. On here, actually, they say anything over 10 minutes and people turn you off. They walk away. I'm already at 15, so some of you won't get to hear my little lecture today. Now, what I told Lisa, I'd like to hear her sing one of these songs. And I think she's quite capable of it, because even though she doesn't realize it, as she talks, she uses all those notes in her normal talk. And if she didn't, she would have no followers whatsoever. If she just talked straight across the board without changing it up and down, nobody will stick around. Nobody will listen to you. You have to raise your voice about that. Look at here. Oh, down. What's that? You got to bring the attention to them. And when I used to put lectures on years ago, seminars, you actually are taught how to do that, by the way. And you have somebody usually record so you can listen to it later and you could fix it. Get rid of the O's and A's and things like that, because that's distracting to everybody. And they realize that you're trying to think of what to say next. That's what that's about. Now, when Lisa talks, she don't say, yeah. She doesn't do that. She gets into a subject, and she builds it up. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. She does that. She don't know it. But if she used to put music with it, it would be a song. Some of the most popular songs out there are nothing more than a story. The person isn't singing, but they are following speech patterns. It is not a phenomena. It is natural. So Lisa, when you get out there and you start following this stuff and you get a song stuck in your head, you can do the hum the melodies out there, and then later on you can talk about it, and then you put the two together, and then you just raise the different words back and forth to what meets the melody. Now, I know you'd be good at it, and your voice has got what it takes. It's got the deepness. You get the high notes, even though you don't know it. You do have it, because it's in your speech. And that rasp in your voice is identical to Marilyn McCoo's. And this last, I'd say, 15 years, her voice came into this a different phase, and she has shortened up the mounts of the rays. She's brought them back into range, and you will have no problem singing her songs. And I would invite you to do that, just for the heck of it. Break the monotony and practice a little bit, and you can come on there and sing a song. It's no big deal. There's a lot of people out there say, well, they're always off key. Have you ever listened to a Neil Diamond song? He sings off key a little bit, but it's an art. How about Nancy Sinatra? Nancy Sinatra has a great voice when she wants to use it. But you know what? These boots are made for walking, and that's just what they'll do. Now, if you listen to that, she's off key most of the time in that entire song. And yet when you listen to her in other songs, especially in a partnership, she is an excellent singer, very good, as good as her father was. I don't know why she didn't do more singing, but she sang enough to make some money at it. if you go back and listen to some of her songs. And I realize singing is an art. And your good singers out there can sing any genre. Now with me, 100 songs, I might sing one okay. Not great, okay. And so I'm kind of careful what I try to get involved in. And my favorites are country songs, real country. You know, one like, and it burn, 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 that ring of fire, that ring of fire. And Johnny Cash, he sings in between. And you get somebody like Elvis Presley, he likes to drop his notes from time to time within one word. Bublé does that. Sinatra used to do that once in a while. And if you want to copy them, you almost have to do it exact, and nobody can do it as good as they can. Nobody. I love singing like, or trying to sing like Elvis, but I don't have, my natural voice isn't there within that range. And then you have other people that sing, well, they'll surprise you. Roy Orbison. You know, he sings crying. That's not an easy song to sing correctly. Lang sang it very well, a Canadian singer. She has a wonderful voice. I don't know if anybody can really top her with the ranges that she can use or the length that she can stretch a word out. Everybody has this uniqueness that once you pick up on it, and it's almost impossible to really capture those good singers out there. Now, Elvis, when he started out, wasn't that great. But I'm going to tell you, the longer he sang, the better he got. He had better control of his voice. His range stretched way out. He was unique in his style. He combined a lot of different genres into one. So he was a pioneer, if you will, in the next generation of singing. In the United States, we probably have been pioneers in more different types of songs or songs than all the rest of the countries put together. But that kind of makes sense because people in the United States come from every country in the world. And so we're a melting pot of doing that. And the reason I like to get people into singing is it is a form of mathematics, if you will. You know, your timing. And then you have to be able to, if you're going to write a song, you have to be a poet. You know, you get along and you add all these things in and you put it in the melting pot. And then all of a sudden the magic happens and it comes out. And there are people out there that know how to perform it. There's people that know how to make a song for a specific singer. Okay, so my challenge is for Lisa to go ahead and follow some of my advice. It's just fun, that's all. And the day will come as each of us age, a hobby of some kind that makes us happy. You know, songs make you happy. Everybody has a song. When you walk out in the yard, the breeze through the trees, that's a song. If you go out there to perform a show in the snow, it rhymes. There's so many things that you can do to make you happy. Music you will remember when you don't remember anything else. You know, Glenn Campbell, he was singing, and he couldn't even remember how to get off the stage. And he didn't even know his name part of the time when he was out there, but he could sing, and he could sing very well. So it's one of the last things to leave you. My advice is if you want to feel good as you age, and you don't want to be a stumbling or bumbling fool or something like that as you get to that age, just learn enough songs to make yourself happy and have a good time. So, Lisa, I hope you have a happy day today, and I hope you follow some of my advice. It's just fun, that's all. And part of what I do is to try to help my lungs. And, well, by the way, if you want to hit a high note, Lisa, use your diaphragm. And next time you start talking, and you're going to perform like you do on this boob tube here, and you start raising and lowering your voice, step in front of a mirror and watch how your breathing changes. When you suck your stomach in, you're pushing that diaphragm, and you're forcing air back up, and you're hitting your high notes. That's where it comes from. And the love of it comes from up here and in here, in your heart. And we all know you have big hearts, so I know you can sing very well. So let's see you go out there and sing a few of these songs. And the one I gave you is only a suggestion. There's so many of them out there that you can fit into your repertoire, and you would have no problem at all. And I told you that I'd heard singing like that more like in a piano bar. And unless you've been on State Street up there in Chicago and listened to some of the singers up there, I mean, you would know what I'm talking about. It's an atmosphere and a type of how you can sing something, and everybody calms down. It keeps people from fighting in there. It's a good atmosphere. So, all right, well, that's all I got for the day, and I wish all of you well. And, yeah, I picked on Willis a little bit today, but he's got it coming. He's a grown youngster, even if he don't act like it. And, you know, it's unfortunate he's following the wrong train. But then, hey, you know, what the hell? If you don't have enough steam to drive your own engine, you can be in the caboose, follow along like everybody else. I'll talk to you later. You have a good day out there, and have a happy Monday.